The good of you on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, quickly looking at issues of the ongoing hashtag EndSARS protests across the country, looking at beyond EndSARS, because it seems the protest is taking another dimension and also twist to the whole issue. For you, looking at the EndSARS before we look at some of the issues or reports across the country.
Well, Mr. Joe, the reality is, first and foremost, I would want to say that protests, peaceful protests, is a constitutional issue. It is constitutionally allowed for Nigerians to have freedom of expression, freedom of association, and also freedom of disagreement over things that are nationalistic in nature, things that touches on the lives of Nigeria and Nigerians, and things that bothers around development, issues that bothers around welfare, infrastructure, and generally, if you like, we call it dividends of democracy. That it is in order. There is nothing wrong in anybody saying yes, we agree with this, or no, we don't agree with that for so reason, and then with the reason or for the purpose of trying to draw attention of authorities so that the right things will be done.
When we're looking at the EndSARS protest across the country, for you?
Well, for me, I'm going to start from an angle that will surprise all of us. I remember that in this very studio, I painted a picture of a wasted generation. And everywhere I have ever gone to and appeared on programs that has to do with Nigerian youths, I have always said that if you fall within the age bracket of 30 to 55, your generation is wasted. And someone someday asked me and said, you keep saying this thing, what exactly do you mean? How could you say a generation between the age of 30 and 55 is a wasted generation? And I said it very clearly that my explanation is this. The guys or the men and women that rule Nigeria today have continued to rule Nigeria and have remained in power, those between the age bracket of 56 down to 80, and they are still in power. These are the men and women who received power on a platter of gold from the likes of Obafemi Awolowo, Azikiwe, the Mike Sokpara, the Saudanas of this world. These are the same men and women who enjoyed Nigeria, who enjoyed free education. The same men and women who were able to finish school and gain employment. The same men and women who were mentored by these founding fathers of this country that I have mentioned. And on the other hand, if you look at it, the generation between 1 to 29, you call them the ICT generation, are people, young men and young women who are not on the very patient side of things. They are people who do not want to wait for their time. But you see, those of us sitting in this studio, looking at the age bracket, all of us fall into that group of wasted generation because those ones who are ruling us today were able to use tricks, use all the necessary morals to cajole us to believe that we should be waiting for our time, that the youths are leaders of tomorrow. You're already having white beards, which goes to say that probably you're between the age of 40 and you're looking at 45. They have continued to cajole you that you should stay quiet, you should stay calm, power will come to you. Power doesn't come like that. But because we were trained and grounded in morals and values, where you see your elder, you have to lie down and sleep and worship him. Never for you to raise a voice against what your elder says, because the elder is always right. But the generation that is coming behind us have decided to say the elders are no longer right. They have even bypassed us now, the generation of 30 to 55. And now are beginning to look at those who fall, who are ruling us today, to say, no, enough is enough. I told you before that this generation between 30 and 55 is a wasted generation because we refuse to take our destiny into our own hands
Is
and do the
the
needful.
protest sending this message?
This is exactly the message of this protest. The protest is trying to tell the entire world that enough is enough. The protest is trying to send a message to us sitting here, generation that is wasted, that you have wasted your own generation, we will not waste our own.
So is it coming under that platform of
The protest,
EndSARS?
of course, there has to
and,
be a canopy. You and I are aware that when this guy started this thing, they started on the basis of saying, it was first to say reform SARS. From reformation of SARS, I'm happy that government too, in the course of this discussion, of course, we will put the faults of everybody in place, and then we'll try to draw a line of where a meeting point, and then maybe take some decisions or make some suggestions and recommendations. But let me quickly add that, you see, he started with reform SARS, and then moved to EndSARS, and then moved to we need the Inspector General of Police to speak to us. From there, it now graduated to we want to hear from the president. And then we went to 5-point agenda. Now there is 7. Now there is 23. It keeps increasing. The only message I understand about all this is the men and women, the young men and women between the age of 1 and 20 and 29 or 30, they are saying to us who fall within this wasted generation that have been suppressed and oppressed and subjugated by these people ruling us till tomorrow, to tell us that, look, you have missed your own time. So you see how we've become wasted. Because they are not going to wait for us. If, peradventure, they succeed in this quest, which they have embarked on, we've been relegated to Division 3. That's just the picture.
You're a society